just pulled off of I-90 after crossing into Montana, and I'm standing in front of the Custer Battlefield Trading Post. This is just across the street from pretty sacred ground. I'm actually going to go tour the Little Bighorn Battlefield Memorial here real quick, and then once I get done doing that, you know I'm heading 1 hour over into Billings, Montana, and I got to try some wine at Yellowstone Winery. And also while I'm here, I'm gonna try the state fish, trout. And I can't wait to see which wine from Yellowstone Winery pairs best with that trout. So come with me and let's see what Montana is pouring for us today. Montana, big sky country. I've finally arrived. There's an electric energy in the air when you cross into this state, a sense of scale that makes your heart race. But before I dive into the vibrant scene of Yellowstone Winery in Billings, or the culinary heart of Missoula, I had to stop here at the Little Bighorn Battlefield National Monument. It's a place that demands silence and respect. The landscape ridges tell stories here. In June of 1876, these ravines and steep bluffs were the backdrop for one of the most significant cultural collisions in American history. On one side, the 7th Regiment of the U.S. Cavalry. On the other, a massive gathering of Lakota Sioux, Northern Cheyenne, and Arapaho warriors. It was much more than a battle over land. It was a clash of two entirely different worlds. A nomadic buffalo culture fighting for its very existence against a rapidly industrializing nation. The tension had been building for years. Gold was found in the Black Hills. Land was promised to the Lakota in the Treaty of Fort Laramie. When the U.S. government's ultimatum to return to reservations went unanswered, the military moved in. Imagine the scene. General Terry's plan was to trap the tribes in a hammer and anvil maneuver. Custer was the hammer, but the village he found was far larger than the military ever expected. Nearly 8,000 people with over 1,500 warriors. Sitting Bull had already seen this in a vision during a Sundance. Soldiers falling upside down into his camp, a prophecy of great victory. As you near the last stand, you see the white marble markers of the soldiers where they fell, scattered across the grass. But look closer, you'll see the red granite markers. These honor the warriors like Lame White Man and Noisy Walking. It's a haunting landscape. You can almost hear the thunder of the horses and the smoke of the carbines. Custer and 210 of his men were cornered right here where this granite monument stands now. In a matter of minutes, a culture's desperate stand became a momentary crushing victory. History here is thick, it's layered, it's even controversial today as we see modern debates over how this story is told. But you can't understand Montana without feeling the weight of this ground. It's a heavy start to the trip, but a necessary one. Now, with the sun high over the Bighorn County line, it's time to head towards Billings. We're going to find some light, some local flavor, and our first glass of Montana wine at Yellowstone Winery. So here I am at Yellowstone Cellar and Winery and having a great experience. Ordered the brie with crackers, nice setup here, and actually they had a jalapeno jelly, so you know I had to give that a go. Got something fun here though, and these are two Cabernet Sauvignons. Both are made with grapes from Washington, but completely different wines. I wanted to walk through these with you. So this is their Cabernet Sauvignon, which is more kind of just Columbia Valley, no particular, region or state necessarily, just Columbia Valley, Washington. And it's got a nice crisp red color to it. But let's give it a go and see how it is. And that has a lot of dark fruit on it. It's kind of a light finish, almost, you know, maybe a medium minus finish. It does have a bit of cedar there, and then a little bit of almost like a meatiness to it. The tannins are pretty subtle there, but overall, that is a well-made wine. Let's compare that with this. This is the 98 block from Yakima as well. And so this is its own little section on its own mountain in the Columbia Valley area. It's a pretty famous region for wine growing for Sauvignon, and so I'm excited to give it a try. Oh, and that hits you a lot harder than that other Cabernet, and has a more extended finish for sure. And this goes dark fruit, and you get some graphite there. You get a little bit of like green fern, like forest ferns on this, and this is pretty special. If you get here, do the side-by-side Cabernet and see which one you prefer. Leaving the Little Bighorn, the weight of history stays with you, but the road calls you forward. I've driven west into the heart of Billings. It's the largest city in the state, but it still feels like a small town that's just grown up a bit. And tucked away here is something you might not expect to find in the middle of Montana cow country, a winery. Welcome to Yellowstone Cellars and Winery. This is a Montana legacy, started in 2010 by Clint Peck, a fourth-generation Montanan. The vision was bold, to bring the sophisticated craft of winemaking to the rugged spirit of the Big Sky. Clint knew that while Montana has the grit, Washington's Yakima Valley has the grapes. Today, Clint's daughter Sarah and her husband Brandon carry that torch. Every single harvest, they head to Washington to hand-select premium fruit. But the real magic happens right here in Billings. I'm talking about the raw, hands-on work, the crush, the fermentation, the quiet years of barrel aging, and eventually the hand bottling. It's a fascinating marriage. You're tasting the terroir of Washington's volcanic soils, but it's been raised and refined by Montana hands. It's hard work, it's grit, and you can taste the intention in every glass. Walking in here, the atmosphere hits you immediately. It's warm, it's inviting, and almost always buzzing. Often there's live music in the corner, local artists who know exactly how to set the mood. Whether you're here for a deep, complex red or a crisp white, there's a sense that you're part of a family tradition. I'm making sure I jot down all my tasting notes because the journey isn't over yet. We've got the wine, now we just need the perfect Montana catch to pair with it.
I found this letter. This is how it read. If you get there before I do, don't give up on me. I'll meet you when my chores are through. I don't know how long I'll be, but I'm not gonna let you down. Darling, wait and see.
So you know, one of my tasks here on this trip is to pair the right wine from here at Yellowstone Cellars Winery with Trout. And these got to be two of the candidates for that task. So right here, I have the summer blend, which is mostly a Riesling. And then over here, I have a Rosé. Not sure what grape this is. So let's give these a go and just see how it goes. Oh, that's definitely a Riesling. Let's give it a try in the palate. And that's kind of an off-dry Riesling, so a little bit of sweetness there. So depending on what the Trout and how it's cooked, that might be a tough match. What I will tell you about this Riesling though, if you get the brie cheese with the jalapeno jelly and you get the spicy jalapeno jelly, that's the go-to for that. So if you get here, do the summer blend or the Riesling with the jalapeno jelly for sure. But we'll put that in the memory banks for later. Let's try the Rosé. Oh, that's pretty mild wine. Let's give it a go on a palate. That's probably got a pretty good shot, again, depending on how the fish is prepared. But that is a very clean, crisp rosé. That's probably the proverbial patio pounder. I really enjoy that rosé, and it's a hot day, so this just goes perfectly with the moment right now here in Montana. Okay, so you know I had to taste the Cab Franc because it's one of my favorites. And they actually have Cab Franc from Washington State, which again is actually probably from the U.S., my favorite region for Cab Francs. So I'm excited to give this a go on camera. And that is big and bold. There's definitely some kind of oak on that. Let's give it a go on the palate. Interesting. That is extraordinary. If you get here, it's pretty spectacular wine. I've tasted some wines actually in Washington. If you haven't seen my Cellars episode, you should check it out. Cellars does an amazing Cab Franc. This is pretty good as well. And you get a little bit of greenness with Cab Franc when it's kind of done well. This is a big, bold wine, actually. Tannins are muted, so you're not going to get those high-level tannins here. You get a little bit of like almost a cocoa, like a dry, dark cocoa. And then you get dark fruit. And like I said, you get that greenness, kind of like a parsley or a little bit of fern there, something along those lines. This is a good Cab Franc. If you get by, give it a go. Just finished our wine tasting here at Yellowstone Cellars Winery. It was a really great experience. Their winemaking is really, really on par. And I gotta tell you, they have a commitment. They drive from here all the way to Washington, grab the grapes at harvest and bring them back here on dry ice to make their wines. That's incredible. Anyway, you know I got one more task to do while I'm here in Montana, and that's pair one of these wines from Yellowstone Cellars with trout, the state fish. So come with me and let's figure out which one of these wines is gonna pair best with trout. You can't understand Montana without understanding the trout. They serve as the canary in the coal mine for our entire ecosystem. To see a wild cutthroat thriving in cold, clean water is to see a state that is still wild at heart. Trout fishing is a $200 million pillar of the U.S. economy, but its cultural value is priceless. Montana chooses to manage wild fisheries rather than relying on hatcheries. The state bets on the survivors. It bets on the grit of the native species. It's the same spirit of authenticity that brought me here, to the quaint street along Clark Fork River in Missoula. I'm at Brasserie Porte Rouge. This space is a legend reborn. Once the site of the iconic Pearl Cafe, it's now led by James Beard's semifinalist, Chef Walker Hunter. He's a man who cooks with 100% heart, blending high-level French technique with a deep sense of home. The menu here is a conversation between geography and culture. And tonight, I'm looking at a throwback to the 90s, the Cedar plank trout. It's the perfect moment. My job here is to pair this locally caught trout, a symbol of Montana's natural heritage, with a wine from Yellowstone Winery. It may possibly be wine from Washington fruit, but it's made by Montana hands, and now it's combined with the soul of Missoula on a plank. In a world of chains and committees, this is the real Montana, elevated, unpretentious, and worth every mile of the drive. Made my way up to Missoula, Montana. I'm in downtown Missoula, Montana at the Brasserie Porte Rouge. Restaurant right in downtown, right on the river. Really cool spot. And I did find trout. Can't believe it. This is trout done on cedar plank, so it has a little bit of wood there. So I thought for sure I would pair this with the rosé from Yellowstone Cellars earlier today, but I was wrong. Because that's cedar, and because there's a little bit of greenness in the potatoes, and there's actually a little bit of candied pecan on here, I actually went red, which you can do red with fish. That's a good lesson to be learned. And so I would have done this with a Vicious Red, which is a light red, really nicely done at Yellowstone Cellars. If I had the chance, that's what my pairing would have been. But anyway, here instead, they didn't have that wine on the menu, so I went with a Gamay from France, which is really paired nicely as well. But that does it for this episode from Montana. I'm gonna say so long, but I hope I get to see you somewhere on the wine trail.
It's a cowboy song. It's a cowboy song.